Good afternoon, South Atlantic Healthcare. I'm here continuing our focus on Women's History Month, and today I'm going to share with you a little bit of her story. We're going to talk about one of my favorite women from history, Frances Perkins. You don't know the name, but you know everything she's done, so just wait until you hear all of this. Frances Perkins was born in Boston. She spent time as a young girl at Hull House, which was run by Jane Addams, which is another woman that you'll be hearing about from us this week. She was the first social worker, and March is both Social Work Month as well as Women's History Month. So we're going to be talking about both this week. She spent her time in Chicago. She learned about helping the poor. She came back to New York. She got married, and she was in downtown. It's 1911. She's in downtown Manhattan, just being normal life, and there's a fire. Shirtwaist factory fire. Some of you may have heard of it. It was a tragedy in our nation's history. 164 women ended up dying in the fire. It was a multi-story factory, and they were making shirts for women. That's what they did. A cigarette butt ignited all the cloth. It went through the whole place, and the problem was that all the doors were locked. The factory owners had locked the workers in to make sure that they did not leave during work hours. That also meant they could not leave during a fire. So, as I said, 164 died. The most shocking part of the whole thing is that 61 of them died by jumping, trying to escape the flames. So Frances Perkins is standing outside and watching 61 young women about her age or younger, the youngest was 14, jump from upper stories and die in front of her. It changed her forever, and she dedicated her life to work safety after that. Frances Perkins, again, like I said, she was pretty middle of the road person. She was chosen for her first government job in New York by Theodore Roosevelt, who was a Republican. But then her most important and most famous job was as the first female cabinet member under Franklin Roosevelt, who of course was a Democrat. She came to be in this position at one of the most important times in America to be the labor secretary. Because it was the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, there were times when unemployment hit 25%. Now, those of us who just lived through COVID, it hit 13 and 14%, and we thought it was the end of the world. Can you imagine 25%? And 25% of adult Americans with no job at a time when there was nothing else. They literally had no income. So Frances Perkins was brought in by FDR because he had seen what she could do in New York. And he brought her in to basically help save America, which she gladly did. She first invented Social Security pensions, unemployment benefits, that was her, overtime pay, that was her, child labor laws, her, also exit signs and unlocked doors, that was her too. She put all of those things in place, and together she and FDR pulled us out of the Great Depression. Now, on a personal note, for all of you out there who've ever had to carry the load of a family, she was married, but unfortunately her husband, a couple of years after they were married, showed signs of mental illness that he never recovered from. And this would have been during a time when we didn't have drugs to care for the mentally ill. She took care of him, she supported their daughter, she cared for her daughter alone, and then, as I said, saved America on the side. So now you know who Frances Perkins is. Now you know who to thank when you get that overtime pay. And I hope you will remember and share her story. Thank you.